Today I'm going to be watching this video. It's called How Finland's President Became Trump's Go-To EU Ally. So yeah, I never really knew this was a thing. I know that with a lot of the political leaders in Europe or in the EU, that they're quite anti-Trump, and interesting to see why Finland or Finland's president is a little bit different. I don't really know too much about him, Finland's president, so tell me more about him. Tell me how he is as a person, as a politician, as a president. Let's check it out.
Never underestimate the capacity of President Trump to negotiate a deal, and if he's crossed, he'll hit you back.
I sat down with Finnish President Alexander Stubb, who's become one of Trump's favorite European confidants.
He went to a good college in the South, as you know, a very good college, and he was a good golfer. We had a good time.
Stubb has Trump.
So they already been friends then, playing golf together. He says he went to a good college in the South. Is that, I guess, America? But which one was that? Tell me more about his background. Quite interesting.
Time.
Stubb has Trump's ear when it comes to Europe's biggest security concerns. And he has been involved in diplomatic discussions ahead of the high-stakes meeting between Trump and Russian President Vladimir Putin.
We're here up in the northeastern corner of Europe. We kind of have the back of America when it comes to Russia.
Finland joined NATO after Moscow's full-scale invasion of Ukraine, breaking decades of neutrality and more than doubling the alliance's border with Russia.
We have one of the largest militaries in Europe. We don't have it because we're worried about Stockholm.
Here's how Stubb has earned Trump's trust to become an influential envoy between him and European allies. Mr. President, thank you so much for joining us. First of all, it's no secret that you and President Trump bonded playing some golf at Mar-a-Lago, and you've been in close contact since then. Can you tell us a little bit about how that personal rapport has helped U.S. and European relations behind the scenes?
Well, I think diplomacy is usually based on two pillars. One is state to state, so that's about history, culture, values, and interests. And the other one is personal. People sometimes, I think, undervalue the personal connection, and I was very fortunate to be able to play golf with the president. It's quite rare that a president from a small country gets to spend some 7 hours in the presence of a president of a big country, and we are allies, we're friends, and we have conversations with Trump, about Trump, with our European colleagues. So it's been helpful. Golf was quite a useful tool there, I have to admit.
That's an interesting take on it. Yeah, when you think about diplomacy, that's like, I guess more politicians should be like that, be diplomatic. No matter what they might think of them deep down or thinking about the negatives, it's like better to focus on the positives, I guess, and just keep that relationship. If it was a choice between Russia or America, you got to obviously probably choose America, I guess. But I find that a lot of the other European countries are very when they could just say nothing at all, they don't. They go the other way and they're very anti-Trump and anti-America and stuff like that, where I think in these sort of times it is maybe a bit better to be a bit more diplomatic and be like this Finnish president, really different from most of the other EU politicians, actually.
Did you ever think golf would be such an important for your diplomatic skill set?
Well, no, but my dad did tell me when I was young that even if you never become professional, which I wanted to be, golf will be useful one day, and I think Dad was right on this one.
Sure.
Stubb said the two leaders discussed a range of topics at Mar-a-Lago, including NATO and Russia's war in Ukraine. The Finnish president has been a staunch supporter of Kyiv, stressing that its security is fundamental to Europe's future.
I want to thank President Stubb for standing with Ukraine, for supporting our people, and for helping build a connection with President Trump.
The Finnish experience with Russia is not dissimilar to that of Ukraine. After World War II, or what we call the Winter War and the War of Continuation, we retained independence, but we lost sovereignty to decide about our own future, and we lost territory. So I can only interpret what happened to us and then juxtapose that or put a mirror and say a similar thing is happening in Ukraine.
President Trump is truly interested in ending the war, and we have to do everything we can to make sure the United States and Europe act together for security.
I can communicate what Europeans think or what Zelensky thinks to Trump, and then I can communicate what Trump thinks to my European colleagues. And it is quite useful to say that, we can perhaps expect this coming from Zelensky. I can tell that to Trump, and then I can tell Zelensky that I think Trump might say this in the future. But, it changes from week to week.
He actually seems like a very, mature politician. I mean, again, I look at politicians in a lot of different places and see some who you can tell don't have their own opinions, maybe just go with what their party says or people in the party. You can see some that become a bit too emotional and throw their support behind one full way and don't really have that ability to balance relationships or manage relationships. But he actually seems like a very important person within this whole situation on all sides there, between EU, Ukraine, America. I mean, if I compare it to the British Prime Minister, who I feel like just says whatever he thinks will please people and has a lot of contradictions. This guy just seems very straight, intelligent, just like a normal person.
Just from week to week.
You told President Trump not to trust President Putin, and it's the same message that so many of your European colleagues had said for years to him. Why do you think he's only recently kind of changed his tone?
I think President Trump wants to get peace in Ukraine. And from the beginning, he wanted to do a deal with President Putin. And I think he gave President Putin a chance, more than a fair chance. But we can see day in and day out Putin bombing innocent civilians. And I think that hits really hard on President Trump. So it just takes a little while to see that, okay, I can't trust this guy in negotiations.
Trump has toughened his rhetoric towards the Russian president in recent weeks as his administration works towards securing a peace deal.
We get a lot of bullshit thrown at us by Putin, for you want to know the truth.
And at the NATO summit in June, he bashed Putin as the main reason why fighting still rages in Ukraine.
Vladimir Putin really has to end that war.
He's also shifted his stance on the alliance after criticizing its member states for not spending enough on their own defense.
It's not a ripoff, and we're here to help them protect their country.
I think it's a big shift. I hope it's permanent. Why did it happen? For two reasons. One, the security situation in Europe is different. So a lot of European countries understand that they have to take more responsibility for their own defense. Second, because of Trump. If someone would have told me in NATO's 75th anniversary summit that the 2% ceiling will be lifted to 5% next summer, I would have said, please go and see a doctor. But sure enough, the pressure that came from Trump, combined with the security political situation in Europe, became the reality of 3.5% plus 1.5%. And I think Trump not only should be given credit, but he should take credit for it.
Now, Trump is leveraging his relationship with the Finnish president to strike a deal to buy specialized ships called icebreakers as the global race to dominate the Arctic intensifies.
I offered him about 1/3 of what he asked for, but we're negotiating. We need icebreakers in the U.S., and if we can get some inexpensively, I'd like to do that.
Finland has helped design or build around 80% of the world's icebreakers. The Nordic country became an industry leader out of necessity, since much of its trade with the West goes through the Baltic Sea. The vessels are an essential tool in opening new trade routes and projecting military power in the region.
Russia has over 40 of them. The U.S. basically doesn't. We can provide them very quickly.
I'm trying to make a good deal. It's all I do my whole life. My whole life, that's all I do is make deals. Yeah, please. Go ahead.
Yeah, tell me what you think about that. It seems like a stronger relationship between Finland and the USA compared to a lot of other countries. So, makes sense. Finland can make some money there selling icebreakers if they can get a good deal also, of course. But yeah, the Finnish president, it seems like a cool guy. As I said, very different to a lot of other politicians that I've seen speak, and honestly seems more trustworthy than a lot of other ones. So, interested to hear people's opinion on him, what you think about him, what you think about this relationship with Trump and the USA. Yeah, tell me in the comments. Thanks.